My name is Tristan White. I'm the founder and chief guide at the Culture is Everything Club. The Culture is Everything Club is a safe online space that helps leaders to learn the skills, grow the confidence, and become the best leader they can be to ultimately grow a better team. You are likely a service-based entrepreneur who leads a team of other people, and you're doing your very best to grow yourself so you can grow your team, so you can create a purposeful, profitable, and sustainable business. If you are here with me, please say hello. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know you're here, and I'd love to consider this idea of think big, act small. That is the topic for this series of live videos happening between 8:45 a.m. and 9 a.m. every workday in August. Now, the last few days we've covered a few topics, and we've covered yesterday we covered the concept of success and failure. What does success look like in your life? What does failure look like in your life? What do you pay attention to with success? What do you pay attention to with failure? As I want to circle back to that in just a minute or two, but a quick good morning to Jeffrey. G'day, Jeffrey. Nice to have you here. Hope all's well in your world. Like me, you are in Victoria, and we are back into a COVID-19 lockdown for 7 days. So I hope you're doing your very best to adjust, Jeffrey. It's a tricky in and out here in Victoria at the moment, but all the best to you, Jeffrey. Phil's here. G'day, Phil. Nice to see you. And Matt McEwen's here. G'day, Matt. Nice to have you with us again. I think you've been here for a few. Phil and Jeff have been here. Jeffrey have been here the whole time. So nice to have you guys with us. Now, success and failure is the topic we touched on yesterday, and I just wanted to circle back to today because I had an email in the last 24 hours from someone who was here yesterday. A member of the Think Big, Act Small crew, and also a member of the Culture is Everything Club. The Culture is Everything Club. We've got a workshop today, by the way, so I'm looking forward to Matt will be there, so looking forward to it, to seeing you there, Matt. We've got the workshop for the members of the Culture is Everything Club is on from surviving to striving. It's about mental toughness and the importance of grit and resilience in our lives. But what Will emailed me was to say that he had this story, and he told me something that I didn't know about Will. And that was in a previous part of his life. He was an elite athlete, and he didn't make it to the most highest of high international Olympic competition, but he was definitely a high performing athlete, and in karate. And Will won a few gold medals in the competitions that he was in, but he won more silver and more bronze medals than he did win gold medals. And there was perception from others that because of not enough golds, that Will's performance wasn't a success. And Will reflected on this, and he's like, I was one of the top 3 people in that competition, in the state, in the competition, whatever level it was. And Will sees those placings as a real success and a real strength, where others might have said, well, silver and bronze, they're all pretty good, but they're not gold. But Will saw it in a different way when he was there. He also, years on from that, he also mentioned that he sees that part of his life as a real success and so many learnings from it. He doesn't necessarily think about it all the time, but there's some real winnings or learnings that build strength for Will. So, Will, thanks for sharing, mate. I really appreciate that story. I hope I did it justice. And I'm really impressed by that concept of being in the top 3 of whatever competition you're in is pretty darn good. And I think that we need to be kind to ourselves and take those successes. A quick side note here is I read something recently about the Olympics, because they're pretty topical right now. And that is that if you compare the emotions and the happiness, if you will, of the silver medalists and the bronze medalists, it turns out that more often than not, the silver medalists are not as happy as the bronze medalists, which is an interesting concept. And but the reason is, apparently the research is that the silver medalists are comparing themselves to the gold medalists. They're like, oh, what could I have done? What could I have done to be just a little bit better to win that darn gold medal? The bronze medalists, on the other hand, are looking at the entire rest of the field and saying, look at me, I got one of the medals, I'm on the podium, I'm in the top 3, super, super happy with their performance. Now, that's not always the case, because sometimes there's the raging hot favourite who ends up with the bronze medal. Some of them might be a bit disappointed, something like that. but I think it's worthy of considering. The success or failure is perception. It is how we perceive it. It's how we consider it, and allowing successes to inflate our egos and to be something we continue to circle back and continue to focus on, or probably the worst part, and definitely the worst for me, is paying too much attention to the failures, replaying it and replaying it and replaying it, and not being grateful for whatever success we got, and also taking it forward with us. So that's the going back to yesterday's topic. How does it apply to us leaders of service-based entrepreneurs and service-based businesses? Well, what does success look like for you every hour, every day, every year? And what does failure look like? And failure might look like not having enough clients, or it might be not growing your team quickly enough, or it might be feeling overwhelmed and not feeling like you're not getting through all the work. Or failure might be something completely different that's very, very personal and individual. But the important bit is that understanding that you're acknowledging this as a success or acknowledging this as a failure, and not being stuck by whatever emotion category that we've got. There's so much success and failures are ups and downs. We definitely need to move beyond those. So that was the idea today. I can see there's a few comments over here. Let me check out what's going on over here. Jeffrey says, fail. First attempt in learning. Yes, what can I learn from that? Yes, Jeffrey, I like that acronym, I think is the right thing to describe that. So thanks, Jeffrey. Appreciate that. Carmel's here. G'day, Carmel. Nice to have you with us. And you're doing some material, some bit of humor for us. So much grit here, you would think I was on Shell Beach. Carmel, keep going. Whatever's going on, keep going. I appreciate that. And go for bronze. And Matt's looking for the article on the happiness of bronze versus silvers. Matt, I'll see if I can find it for you. I'll do my best to put in the comments a little bit later. And Trav, g'day, Trav, nice to have you here. Another lockdown. Feels like I was on track for a medal and got disqualified. Yeah, I can understand. Maybe you got hit from behind on the velodrome or something like that. Didn't see it coming, Trav. But I hear yes, us Victorians in another COVID-19 lockdown. Hey, that's the topic of yesterday, was success and failure, how it shows up, what it means to you. Today, I just want to touch on the topic of core values. Now, core values, I'm not talking about company core values. I'm not talking about the core values of your team or organization. I'm talking about personal core values of us leaders. Now, core values, if you haven't come across them or spent much time on them, you might think they're airy-fairy ideas that only large organizations have got. And yeah, that's probably where they started. It's probably where it came from. In my experience, a team that's driven by core values is one that can create a freedom within boundaries type environment where everyone knows the expectations and the behaviors from a team perspective. But I want to take that to a deeper level for us leaders, and that is, what are your personal core values? What are the things that are near and dear to you? What's super, super important? And why are they important? Well, I reckon they're a bit like our guardrails for life. Guardrails for life meaning to keep us, and when we veer over the edge of our core values, it just doesn't feel right. We're out of kilter. We're out of alignment. We might be having day after day of feeling like a failure. But if we're aware of what our core values are, and then we move forward and think, you know what, I'm not quite nailing this at the moment. The reason is, and being able to adjust based upon those guardrails that guide you as to where you'd like to be is the idea. Now, many of us have thought about this for a lot. I've been working on this for a while. I know Trav and Matt, you guys have done some work on this as well. If you're coming across this for the first time, don't stress. Don't think it's too airy-fairy. But I'd really encourage you to consider, what are the things that you hold most important in your life, and when it's easy to sort of have these aspirational core values, but let's consider the non-negotiables. What is it are the things that really challenge you? You get really peeved when people let you down in a certain way. It might be communication, it might be reliability, it might be honesty. All these type of things are potential personal core values. And when we know them, we can identify them, and we can use them in a way that helps us to find a win, find a progression in our life. Let's use honesty as an example. And that is that if you get really challenged, upset, and peeved when someone seemingly doesn't tell you what you perceive to be the truth. Remembering there's many values or many angles on every situation. But if someone really upsets you because you're not necessarily thinking they're being honest, then perhaps, just perhaps, always telling the truth is something that's really important to you, and might be part of your personal core values. Now, I've worked through this a few ways. The Physio Co, the business I've been leading for a long time, has got 4 core values. The Culture is Everything Club also has 4 core values. And here in our little family, we've been trying to discover something called our family promises, which is sort of a scaled down version of core promises. But Think Big, Act Small, which just happens to be the name of this live and also of this series this month. Just happens to be, if I was to boil my personal core values down to just one core value, it would be think big, act small. Think big, zoom out, what's going on here, what's important, how can we make progress? Act small, what is the logical next step that we're going to take? And so I'm not a big believer that we can get core values all the way down to one. So I'm still working on my personal core values, but I want to share that think big. If I'm stuck and challenged, I'm just focused on my list of things and I'm not making much progress, then it's time to take a walk around the block, so I can think big, zoom out, and then I can act small, reprioritize, and figure out what's the most important thing to do next. That's one way that I can use it in my life. Similarly, if I'm coaching my kids' sport and I'm getting a bit worked up by something, or I'm not keeping it fun, because kids' sport is always supposed to be fun, then deep breath, time out if you will, and how can I think big as to how I make this more fun? Act small. Remember to smile. Remember that engaging with people is definitely a good logical next step in that situation. So that's the topic for today. It was really an idea about sharing personal core values and encourage you to consider, what are your personal core values? Where are you aligned to them right now? If you've got 2, 3, 4 personal core values, would you say that right now you're nailing number 1, number 2 is a bit iffy, and number 3, I've got work to do there? That would be really useful. Assessing ourselves against personal core values is a super important concept. The more we do it with more intent, then perhaps it can become more automatic, and we can correct ourselves and guide ourselves in the moment, which is the holy grail, I think, of coaching ourselves. So for today, that's the topic. We've touched on success and failure, and we've also talked about personal core values, how to use them. And if you want an act small for today, which I encourage everyone to have an act small, maybe if you've got core values, do a quick assessment, how you're performing or how you're behaving compared to what you'd ideally like to be. If you don't have them, maybe just jot down a few dot points. What could be your personal core values? Use the concept of a CFD, crappy first draft. Get it down on paper. We can always edit and improve from there. It is 8:59 where I am. I'm going to wrap up this Think Big, Act Small in August episode. It's day 5. I promise to be here every workday between 8:45 and 9 a.m. During August. I'd love to see you here. I'd love you to consider the concept of Think Big, Act Small. And I'd also love you to consider sharing this message or this concept with others who might get some value out of turning up, becoming the best leader they can be, the best communicator they can be, and hopefully making it work in their personal and professional lives. But for the time being, my name is Tristan White. Think big, act small. I'll see you next week.